Hi, welcome to the webinar. What is data thinking and why do I need it in my data strategy? My name is Thomas Maas. I am a principal data consultant in the ELISA practice of Mentor Group, and I'll talk you through our approach to a data strategy and how you can use data thinking in developing your data strategy. So let's start what data thinking actually is, and let's make it simple. It is a combination of big data and design thinking. So it's all about using design thinking in the opportunities that big data will bring to companies across the globe. So let's start with understanding what a traditional strategy actually is. And when you look at the dictionary or when you Google, you will see that a strategy is a plan of action designed to achieve a long-term overall goal. It has its discipline, as a discipline, it has its origins in warfare. And it's really about choosing the resources that fit the goals you've set out and how to compete or stay relevant, depending whether you're in a commercial or non-for-profit environment. Then if you look at the theory behind the strategy, you'll be looking at the economic resources that you will need to make decisions on, being labor, capital, technology, and land traditionally. Now let's fast forward to today and let's fast forward to a digital environment. So what is then a strategy in a digital business environment? Let's have a look at what a business strategy actually is. It's really a clear set of plans, actions, and goals that outline how a business will compete in a particular market with a particular product or service. And now when we take a look at the economic resources, I think what digital has changed is that land is not so much the economic resource that we need to be looking at, but actually data, and treat it as a resource into our business plans. And let's take a step back there and ask ourselves the questions, what about customers? And I realize I'm sitting in front of my own call out. Sorry for that. But what about customers? How can we make a strategy customer centric and actually start with the end customer in mind rather than starting with the economic resources in mind? Well, I'll get to that in a second. So why should we be thinking about a data strategy at all? And so when you need to look at your economic resources, labor, capital, technology, data that I've mentioned before, you will see that all of those have strategies as well. A lot of companies will have a people strategy or people and culture strategy. They'll have a financial strategy around how to deploy capital the most efficient. They'll have a technology strategy. And then when we look at the fourth resource there, we'll have a data strategy as well. And it's probably worth mentioning that there really is a difference between a technology strategy and a data strategy. You'll see businesses still mentioning data as part of a technology strategy. It's a technology that actually underpins your data strategy is only focused on the technology and not really on the analytics and the use of that data. And that's really where we think there is a separation between what a technology strategy is and what a data strategy is as well. So let's take a step back and have a look at what's actually happening over time in the market and why strategy is changing. So I think this is an interesting infographic to have a look at. And it is about the adoption of certain technologies. And the chart, what it shows is how long it took for a certain technology to reach 50 million users. So when we look from top to bottom, we'll see that airlines took about 68 years before 50 million people had used an airline. And so going down the list, automobiles, 62 years, the phone, 50 years, electricity, 46 years, credit cards, 28 years, the internet, 7 years, Facebook still even 3 years. And then when we go to Pokemon Go, it only took 19 days. And so this is really where you'll see digital come into play and making adoption and really changing the game around strategy. With the airlines being probably a much more technology innovation, but taking 68 years to get 50 million users, and Pokemon Go only taking 19 days to get to that same amount of users. So let's have a look at what the actual problem is here. If you want to make a plan, that's all what a strategy is about, making a plan and allocating your resources smartly. That plan in a business environment would take about a year to develop, and then anywhere between 3 to 5 years to actually deliver. And what you will see is that by the time you finish your planning, and especially by the time you finish your delivery, the world around you will have changed. And so it doesn't make sense to spend the year planning around what you're going to be doing for the next 5 years. You might set out to think that a Ferrari is the thing that you'll need to build. And then 5 years later, you'll find out that people are not even driving cars anymore. And that's sort of the metaphor that I think is very useful in your thinking about understanding the strategy landscape and how to plan ahead. So the problem really is that the world is changing too fast to plan 5 years into the future or really accurately plan into the future. Probably the cause of that is the Industrial Revolution 4.0. And the solution really where we want to be talking about today is the use of agile and design thinking in strategic processes. So how do you apply design thinking in business strategy, data strategy, technology strategy, whatever strategy in a commercial or non-for-profit environment you can think of? And this is a framework I really like to use to help with the thinking here. At the start of making out plans, you are at the left of what we call a double diamond, where you really actually think you might have an understanding what the problem is, but you really don't know it just yet, and you want to get to actually delivering a solution. So instead of jumping to a solution, what we would recommend you to do is actually go through a discovery phase first, but not focus a discovery on the solution, but focus a discovery on the problem instead. And actually validate the thinking that you set out. So start with an hypothesis, what you think the problem is, discover that problem, inform yourself, and then start divergent with your thinking, and then basically converge your thinking where you say, now I have a better understanding of the problem. I'm going to redefine or restate what the actual problem is before you then start thinking about the solutions. And again, when you start thinking about the solution, use divergent thinking again first in designing the solution, which means not necessarily sitting in a room and listening to one person dictating what the solution should look like, but everyone individually thinking about what a solution could be, diverging, and then converging again and basically say, this is what I think the best solution is, and deliver that solution, which usually could be a prototype. So I can almost hear you thinking, thanks for that framework, but what do I really do now? So again, we're looking at the 4 stages here that you saw on the previous slide: discover, define, design, deliver. And really in the discovery phase, it's all about diverging. So familiarize yourself with an environment, understand the market, understand the trends. Then explore the goals of an organization, challenge those goals even if you want. Define what you think is the problem and start brainstorming about solutions. But don't rule anything out. Don't select anything just yet. Be crazy. Think about the impossible. It's all on the table at this point. The next bit that you want to do is define and converge. So you want to organize your ideas. You want to actually maybe select a little bit of those ideas. You want to define some of those solutions that you've got in mind. You want to prioritize those solutions, and you want to select the best one. And obviously there's all frameworks, evaluation frameworks that can help you with that as well. What you want to do is you want to pick the best one. And then it's all about refining what you think is the problem or the goal, and write down how that solution is going to achieve the goal. So this is really where you start connecting, especially in a data environment, how you think a technical solution might actually contribute to a business goal. The next bit that you want to do is then design, because you don't want to stop with like something on paper. You actually want to start designing straight away and testing that in the real world. So you want to explore the data, you want to explore the technology and the tooling you've got available. You want to identify how it might work instead of thinking this is not going to work because of X, Y, Z. You actually want to be in the can-do part of the world in this stage. You want to figure out who can help you and who you need help from to actually deliver this project. And this is where you start branching out and understanding that as a data professional, you are going to need to rely on other parts of the business to help your product that you might want to be building actually be valuable in the business as well and valuable for users. You want to understand how the user will adopt your solution. So really think about business requirements gathering in the traditional sense of the word. But really want to work together with the user and understand how your data product can help that person forward. You want to test your assumptions and solution idea you've got in mind. So you don't necessarily need to build the entire product to test if it's working yes or no. You actually want to see what your crucial assumptions are, what is like the critical factors for success, and you want to test those. And you can be smart about those. Like you might be able to test them in already functioning products and see and maybe take a reference point there and saying like, look, we've gone through a data governance approval process before with a similar solution like this. So the critical assumption that we're not going to get this approved might be wrong, because I've got an example in the market or an example in your company already where it can work. And then what you want to do is you want to refine your solution based on what you found before you then go into delivery. And this is really where you start building your prototype, building your model, check all your assumptions, and most critically and important as well, measure success. Really need to define how success will look like. It's not just about model accuracy, it's about driving business value. So how is my model going to be used? How is it going to get adopted? What business value is it creating? And showcase your solution and how it achieved those goals as well. So really making sure in delivery phase of any product that you're building or any solution that you're building, that you bring everyone along in your journey to understand how it achieves business success. Let's take another meme from the internet and have a talk about what happens if you don't take this approach. So I really like this visual. I'm a very visual person. And this is not just for data, this is for any product development in general, is if you don't align and continuously iterate and validate your thinking, you'll get someone's expectations completely different from what the end product looks like. So really make sure you iterate, you validate throughout all of it. And you'll see that an analyst makes something completely different from a programmer, from a developer, what operations installed, what the finance team thought was the financial model sitting underneath, and actually in the end what a customer needed. And so you'll see if you look throughout these slides here that what a customer really needs is actually where you need to get to. So you'll need to get to that tire that you're seeing in the bottom right corner. And actually the question is, how do you make sure that throughout the process, where when you start you don't know what it exactly looks like, how do you make sure throughout that process that you get to this point? And that was it for now. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope this was an enjoyable and informative webinar, and make sure you follow this space for more content. Thank you very much.